The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bishop Bernard Alex of Victory Temple Fellowship Church in Syracuse, New York, will deliver today's invocation. Bishop?
Second Samuel chapter 23 reminds us, now these are the last words of David. Thus says David, the son of Jesse. Thus says the man that raised up on high, the anointed of God of Jacob, the sweet psalmist of Israel. David said, the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me, and his words are on my tongue. The God of Israel said, the Rock of Israel spoke to me. He who governs over men must be just, governing in the fear and reverence of God. And then the one who governs shall be like the light of the morning, when the sun rises, a morning without clouds, like the tender grass that springs up out of the earth, shining clear, glistening like the tender grass after the rain. So, God of our help for the years to come, the one who shelters us and protects us, I ask that you continue to guide those who have accepted the call to govern, that they do so with the heart and spirit of a servant who serves, that they continue to provide, and that they give wisdom to the thought as they move with precision and integrity in the turbulent times and lives that are filled with questions, find guidance. As the residents of the great state of New York, those from the tip of Montauk Point to the rolling waters of the Niagara, from those that stand on the borders of the neighbors to the north and the rolling hills of the southern tier, God, we ask that you give them senatorial leadership to make decisions that are equitable, considerate, and with the people at its core. And may the decisions made reflect the principles upon which our country was founded, that we remain one nation under God's divine guidance, not divided, but with united spirits and with liberty and justice for all. Keep us all, those who serve, that we remember to whom much is given, much is required. This is our petition and our request in your name. Amen.
Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Friday, May 16, 2025, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. Journal Thursday, May 15, 2025 is read and approved on motion the Senate adjourn.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentations of petitions, messages from the Assembly. Secretary will read.
Senator Fernandez moves to discharge from the Committee on Alcoholism and Substance Abuse and Substance Use Disorders Assembly Bill number 2398 and substituted for the identical Senate Bill 1814, third reading counter 986.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and reports of state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator Gineris.
Good afternoon, Madam President. On behalf of Senator Dabo, I wish to call up Senate Print 2000, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 235, Senate Print 2000 by Senator Dabo, enactment of the insurance law.
Move to reconsider the vote by which the bill is passed.
The Secretary will call the roll on reconsideration.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Sewell, Cousins, White, ayes 52.
The bill is restored to its place on the third reading calendar.
I offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received.
Amendments are also offered to the following third reading calendar bills by Senator Bailey, Calendar 425, Senator Bailey, Calendar 584, Senator Comrie, Calendar 708, Senator Comrie, Calendar 710, Senator Sepulveda, Calendar 893, Senator Rivera, Calendar 898, Senator Stavisky, Calendar 906, Senator Webb, Calendar 1021, Senator Skoufis, Calendar 1024, Senator Hoyman Siegel, Calendar 1005, Senator Bailey, Calendar 925, and Senator Bailey, Calendar 927.
The amendments are received and bill retains place on the third reading calendar. Senator Gineris.
At this time, Madam President, let's take up previously adopted Resolution 821 by Senator Gianaris. Read its title only and recognize me on the resolution, please.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 821 by Senator Gianaris, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim May 4, 2025 as Star Wars Day in the state of New York.
Senator Gianaris on the resolution.
Hello there. Madam President, I have a bad feeling about this. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it was almost a half century ago where those iconic words, the most famous words to begin a film, first appeared on the screen and launched a cultural phenomenon that has endured and grown through the decades, and I think has affected all of us in our everyday lives. How many times have you walked into a supermarket and pretended to use the force to open the doors? I do it at the parking garage on the way in here every day. Or how many times have you had a lightsaber fight with your friends? In fact, two of our colleagues were doing it just today here in the well. And of course, the phrase that launched it all, "May the Force be with you," has now led to a fan-grown phenomenon where May 4th is celebrated as Star Wars Day, for May the 4th be with you. Now, we had this resolution prepared by then, but as you all know, we were in the middle of the budget and thought it would be in poor taste to take this resolution up while we were dealing with such weighty issues, but we do have it before us today. And you may all remember that budget was hard fought, it was at times divisive, it was partisan, but here is a day when we can all come together, where indeed the most conservative members of this chamber and the most progressive can share in the joys of celebrating what Star Wars has brought to so many of us. I don't want to out anyone who doesn't want to be spoken about, but Senator Borrello, Senator Steck, and myself are on a Star Wars text thread, which I think most people would find an odd combination of people. Senator Rivera is sometimes joining us and has brought his own official lightsaber, I know, here to the chamber today. So perhaps in Star Wars, the Senate was a tool of the Emperor and eventually was disbanded. Here it is uniting us and bringing us together to make us ever stronger. I want to thank our own personal Mon Mothma, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins, our leader, for allowing this display to happen in the Senate chamber today. And I must take the opportunity to make a plea to our friends at Lucasfilms. Please bring back The Acolyte. It was a good show. And it has grown in popularity since it was taken off the air. So hear us, Lucasfilm. To my colleagues here, a plea for all of us as well. May the Force be with us. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. May the Force be with you. The resolution was adopted. Oh, Senator Borrello on the resolution.
Oh, that's not going to work. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Gianaris. Today I rise to celebrate and recognize May 4th as Star Wars Day around the world. May the 4th be with you is a play on words from the iconic line, "May the Force be with you." What started off as a pun turned into an international celebration to recognize the impact that Star Wars has had on our culture and what it means to fans around the globe. The first appearance of May the 4th be with you can be traced back to 1978, just 1 year after the release of Star Wars: A New Hope. By then, Star Wars was firmly rooted in popular culture. The phrase gained wider attention on May 4th, 1979, when British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was congratulated in a newspaper ad reading, "May the 4th be with you, Maggie, congratulations." The pun also gained traction with Lucasfilm. In 1982, a sound designer coined it while working on Return of the Jedi in Northern California's redwood forests. He shared it on set and would go on to send an annual May the 4th message for years to come. From these early mentions, grassroots enthusiasm by fans took over and helped establish May 4th as Star Wars Day, a global celebration of the saga and its impacts. New York is home to some of the largest events and celebrations of science fiction and fantasy, such as New York's Comic-Con, held every October in New York City. At Comic-Con, Star Wars panels, experiences, meetups, and guests are among the biggest draws, bringing fans together from across the galaxy. For me, Star Wars was bigger than life when it hit the movie screens in 1977. I was just 10 years old at the time. It was the state-of-art special effects. It was a story that had nothing to do with Earth or even our galaxy, as it starts off a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. This was a novel concept at the time, but it was based on an epic battle between good and evil. It drew inspiration from many classic hero stories, from the swashbuckling adventures of movies in the 1940s and 50s to the dogfight battles. Oh, it died. Here we go. All right. Like those in World War II. I'm actually worse than the stormtroopers when it comes to aim. So, George Lucas started with an idea that has grown into a movement. There are new fans born every day. Then there are those of us that have grown up and even grown old with Star Wars. So today we celebrate the global phenomenon that has become. It is ingrained in our culture and continues to inspire generations with its enduring themes of hope, courage, and redemption. I want to thank my co-conspirator, Senator Gianaris, on this. Thank you very much, and may the 4th be with you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Rivera on the resolution.
And on the other side of the aisle.
This is different color.
Madam President, I remember the first, as I'm just going to put this down, do not light the saber unless you're willing to use it, good sir. Now, 1983, I was 8 years old, and the first movie I remember seeing in the movie theater was Return of the Jedi. It is the reason why up to this day, even though people might not like it, I still love me some Ewoks, and I still sing the Yub Nub song. That's a very inside thing for those that are Star Wars heads. But in all honesty, Madam President, it is actually one of the things that, as you saw very clearly, Senator Borrello and I would agree on very little. But we do agree on this being something that we both share and is shared by millions of people across the world. And I will say that it is something that one of the things that has maintained my sanity, I've been here for 15 years, and one of the things that I do to maintain my sanity is that every now and then I go into I take my iPad, or I get at home and I get on my TV and I just put one of these sci-fi blockbusters on and enjoy myself and able to forget the rest of the world for a little bit. So I will say, as has been said before, once again, Madam President, to everyone present, may the 4th be with you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Steck on the resolution.
I too want to join. No, I'll pass on the lightsaber, George. As has been mentioned, Star Wars is important to a lot of us in here. I was 8 years old when Star Wars came out. I remember going to that movie with my family and becoming a big Star Wars fan. It's an odd journey that brings me here to my mid-50s, and as Senator Gianaris pointed out, opposite sides of the aisle, maybe sometimes there are many things we don't agree on, but Star Wars and our love of Star Wars and its impact on us as kids is among the things that brings us together. And along with tens of millions of Star Wars fans around the world, it's nice to recognize that iconic "May the Force be with you" to be Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. So I thank Senator Gianaris for bringing this legislation to the floor. That might be the first and only time that you may even hear that sentence from me. And as I tried telling him during the budget process, it didn't work. I'm going to have to go back to school and seek out Yoda, but I'll try it again here. This is not the budget you're looking for. Anyways, I support the resolution, and again, happy Star Wars Day, everybody.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution was adopted on April 29th. Senator Gianaris.
I want to welcome and appreciate that our two guests here have flanked me during this conversation. They are going to make their way to the majority conference room. They'll be there for about an hour for photos. If anyone would like to sneak out, get their photo and return, that's open not just to members, but to anyone that would like to do that. So thank you, both of you. And on to the next resolution, Madam Speaker. Previously adopted Resolution 960. Previously adopted Resolution 963 by Senator May. Please read that resolution's title and recognize Senator May.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 963 by Senator May, commemorating the 10th anniversary of the New York Cider Association.
Senator May on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. That is a tough act to follow, but let's change the subject a little here. Talk about upstate New York. Upstate New York is one of the best places in the world for growing apples. And we are blessed with an abundance of orchards and apple products, including hard cider. I have the honor to represent the beautiful Lafayette Valley, where 1911 cider is located, and we have many other orchards in my district. Later this afternoon, you are all invited to the well to taste a delicious variety of ciders produced by our craft cider makers from across the state. For now, I am pleased to recognize the 10th anniversary of the New York State Cider Association. This group came together to advocate for the cider industry, which used to labor under the shadows of other craft beverages, but now I think it's fair to say that cider is having its moment, thanks to the relentless advocacy of the New York State Cider Association and their great products, as well as the legislation that we passed last year to allow direct shipment of cider and other craft beverages direct to consumers. We are joined today by Scott Ramsey and Adrienne Luna of the New York Cider Association, as well as representatives from Nine Pin Cider, Rockland Cider Works, Indian Ladder Farm Cidery, Brooklyn Cider House, Merchant's Daughter, Treasury Cider, and Clarksburg Cidery. And I ask you to welcome our guests and give them the privileges of the house. Thank you.
To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was adopted on May 13th. Senator Gianaris.
Please recognize Senator Brisport for an introduction.
Senator Brisport for an introduction.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to introduce visitors from the Brownsville Community Justice Center, BCJC, which improves public safety in Brownsville, Brooklyn by investing in local residents, transforming public spaces, and reimagining the criminal justice process. The Community Justice Center works to reduce crime and incarceration, strengthen the trust in the justice system, and promote vibrant civic life in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Programming at the Brownsville Community Justice Center centers on three key elements: alternatives to incarceration, youth development, and reimagining public space. This holistic approach guides all of the services and opportunities offered at the Community Justice Center, which are uniquely designed to uplift and empower Brownsville youth. I want to thank staff Lenny, Levant, Robin, and Haley for being here, as well as our youth leadership council members and participants, Javon, Sila, Emilio, Javi, Nima. Today they were lobbying for the Right to Remain Silent bill, legislation from our own Senator Bailey. I really want to thank you all for showing the New York State Senate the power and future of Brownsville. Never ran, never will. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Serrano. Bernard, this is not.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a privilege resolution by Senator Matera. Please take that up. Resolution 1020. Please read that title only and call on Senator Matera.
There is a privileged resolution at the desk. The Secretary will read.
Resolution 1020 by Senator Matera, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim May 19, 2025 as Italian American Day in the state of New York.
Senator Matera on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Today, as a proud member of the New York Conference of Italian American Legislators, it is my honor to stand before you as we jointly proclaim today Italian American Day in New York State. What a great day. This day is the opportunity to recognize the profound impact Italian Americans have had on our state and nation. Just so everybody understands, 25% of New York residents are Italian Americans, and we are very proud of that. These individuals have helped shape America into a great nation it is today, and they continue to lead us towards a brighter future. Their contributions are vast, and they remind us as the importance of honoring those who paved the way for all of us. Today's designation of Italian American Day also celebrates the Republic of Italy's national holiday, Festa della Repubblica Italiana, which celebrates the day of Italy voted to become a democratic republic. This shared history gives us an extra reason to celebrate, both here and in Italy. And I am going to be going to Italy in July, so I'm very excited about that for my first time. This shared history gives us an extra reason to celebrate both here and in Italy. It is the day to honor all who have made our state and nation stronger. As someone who is proud of my Italian heritage, I know that I stand in the shadow of all who have come before me, and I am proud to celebrate and remember their legacy. That is why today, the New York Conference of Italian American Legislators honored some of the deserving Italian Americans, New Yorkers, who have worked to preserve the history of Italian Americans to ensure that their contributions are always honored and serve as an inspiration for all who follow. And I'm going to mention these names because these are very, very important people that are here today. Dr. Joseph Celsa. He is the founder of the Italian American Museum on Mulberry Street in Manhattan. And I appreciate that he is here and what he is doing. Antonetta Marizello is here today. Maria Melito, Christopher Macchio, Chris Vaccaro, Philip Foglia, Assemblyman Philip Palisano, and our Republican leader that is being honored today, also Leader Rob Ortt. And just so everybody knows, Leader Ortt is half Italian, and I say to the leader, that is definitely your better half. And that's going to be good? No, I just had to say that. And congratulations to all of our scholarship winners. Great job, all of our high school and our college students. These New Yorkers have made their own contribution to our state today, and we celebrate Italian Independence Day. We are honored to celebrate their contributions and their accomplishments. I thank them for all the dedication and hope they understand the lasting impact they have had. As I close, I want to note how All Italian American Day is remembered and the strength of our state's diversity. It highlights how every community and every race contributed to the building of New York, which is the greatest state in the Union. We have built this great state together, and it is only through that shared commitment that we continue to thrive. It was great to see our Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, when she attended the UN Week, and in the fall, when she visited, she went to Columbus Circle and she placed a wreath at the Columbus statue. That was very, very important to all of Italian Americans. It is so important that we also preserve Columbus Day, and that I want to thank President Trump for signing an executive order protecting this precious celebration for all Italian Americans. That is our heritage. I hope that we all can join together as a body to celebrate our diversity by recognizing Italian American Day. Hope to see everybody at the Festa. God bless all Italian Americans, God bless Italy, and God bless the United States of America. Cent'anni, 100 years, good health. Madam President, please extend all privileges and courtesies of the House to our honorees and to all of our scholarship award winners. Thank you, and I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Chan on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. How can I not speak about the Italians? First, I want to thank Senator Matera for introducing this resolution. I'll start off with Chisidich. How can I not speak about this when I lived intimately with my Italian friends in Brooklyn for 50 years? From Bensonhurst to Bath Beach, Dyker Heights, Bay Ridge, Gravesend, Kensington, you name it, South Brooklyn. From Galileo to Da Vinci, from Marco Polo to Marconi, from Prada to Gucci. How can we dispute the contributions of the Italians to the betterment of mankind and civilization? As our beautiful neighborhood of South Brooklyn changes, our Italian culture is as prevalent as ever. Together with the Italians, we forge forward. We have people that I grew up with named Venuto and Conigliaro, Trippies, Neris. I know 10 Sally boys and about 5 Fat Tonys. And one of them is Chinese. He's a Chinese cop. My chief of staff is named Vito Labella. From the land of Leone Italian heroes to Villabate Bakery, Bari, Sadio Maria, Spumoni Gardens, Villa Fiorita, Ristorante, La Bella Market, no relations, Mr. Phil's Pizza, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Roman Catholic Church, and of course the Santa Rosalia Feast, enjoyed by all coming from all over the city. We thrive as a neighborhood in motion, and it's not just the Italians, But today, it is about the Italians, and all of us have common goals. People speaking different languages, somehow able to communicate with each other because we have a common goal, and we do the same things. From Mulberry Street in Little Italy to 18th Avenue in Brooklyn, can you feel it? I can. Forget about it. Come to South Brooklyn. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I'll show you. I proudly support this resolution on behalf of the people of South Brooklyn. We love this. Grazie.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Rhodes on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I proudly rise as an Italian-American myself with my maternal grandparents, Fred and Frances Alaka, coming from Bari and Naples, respectively. I'm also married to a lovely lady who is 100% Italian, so even though the other half of me is Irish and German, you know what half dominates our house, and that is Italian. I rise actually, in addition to it being Italian-American Day today, the committee also awards 2 scholarships, actually 4 scholarships, 2 in the area of athletics and 2 in the area of academics. The 5th Senate District was blessed this year to have 2 honorees, 2 scholarship recipients, one of whom is in the chamber today. But I would like to recognize both. First, Thomas DeLeo, who is the recipient of the Senator John Marshy Athletics Scholarship, was a Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School graduate of the class of 2023. He's currently a sophomore at Stony Brook University as part of the university's 8-year Scholars for Dental Medicine program. Tommy has 2 passions, cooking and baseball, but severely asthmatic. Through the years of conditioning and training, he was able to overcome that obstacle, playing for the varsity baseball team, earning MVP honors, and 2 league championships. Today, Tommy is the starting left fielder for Stony Brook University's club baseball team and has played for Stony Brook's rugby team. He has also maintained a 100% GPA throughout his high school career while leading the Investors Club, the Veterans Club, and is on the Leadership Council of the St. Pius X Youth Group, which for those of you who have been here a while know that I have the honor of serving as youth minister and knowing Tommy for the better part of the last 6 years. He is truly an exceptional not only athlete, but just an amazing person. He's currently maintaining a 3.8 GPA while making the dean's list in each semester, while taking physics and organic chemistry. And he is truly a worthy recipient. Unfortunately, could not make it with us here today in the chamber because he's actually taking a final exam at college. But with us in the chamber here today is Damian Crowley. Damian Crowley is the recipient of the James Conte Academic Scholarship. He is a senior at Wantagh High School and will be attending Stanford University in the fall to study chemical engineering with a focus on environmental sustainability. As a high school student, he's worked with PhD candidates and postdoctoral researchers at Stony Brook University in the Chemical and Materials Engineering Department to advance plastics sustainability and curtail soil erosion and land degradation as a student research intern with the Garcia Center for Polymers and Engineered Interfaces. He also continues to serve as a research intern at Vesta Earth Modeling, Sediment Transport, and developing potential solutions to ecological degradation. As a former Wantagh Warrior myself, I got the chance to meet Damian for the first time through his work with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society as a volunteer, competing for 2 consecutive years in a 7-week fundraising challenge. The team he captained, Warriors for a Cure, in the last 2 years has raised over $200,000 for LLS. But in his spare time, Damian is president of the Wantagh Animal Rights and Recycling Club, captain of the Wantagh High School Science Olympiad team, vice president of Future Business Leaders of America, secretary of the Italian Club, treasurer of the Key Club, member of the Mathletes team, co-captain of the Wantagh's varsity winter track team, a sprinter co-captain of the Wantagh's varsity spring track team, has received the AP Capstone Diploma, is an AP Scholar with Distinction, is a National Merit Scholarship winner, has received the New York State Seal of Biliteracy in Italian, has given oral presentations at the 2024 and 2025 Materials Research Society and has published a research manuscript in the Journal of Emerging Investigators and articles in the Journal of Ethics and Scientific Technological Innovations as a high school student, all while maintaining a cumulative weighted GPA of 108.78. Madam President, I would ask that you recognize Damien and Thomas in absentia. I would ask that you grant them the privileges and courtesies of the House and your congratulations on our scholarship award winners. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Scarcella Spanton on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Senator Matera, for introducing this very important resolution in honor of Italian American Day. As a proud Italian American myself, Scarcella, if that doesn't give it away, and probably my accent as well, I really just wanted to say that today is a really special day. We have Festa tonight, and Italians have such an incredibly rich culture. My dad's grandparents came over from Italy in 1903, Aranzo and Josefina. He worked in the coal mines in Pennsylvania for some time. Then he started to sell life insurance. With that money, he opened a store in Hazleton, Pennsylvania on Carson Street. So today we have we have, I rise today thinking of mostly my dad, Michael Scarcella, and his family. They are the reason why we're here today, and I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator. The question is on the resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Oh. Senator Wyke on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. As a proud German American who's got 0.02% Italian in me, I'm told that counts. I'm so proud to be able to recognize Bob Fonte, who's the president of the Italian American Action Committee and president of the Lieutenant Detective Joseph Petrosini in America, and he's one of the only officers ever killed on foreign soil. Is what I'm told. And so they play such a great big part on Long Island and across New York. And I thank them for being here today and for joining us. And I proudly vote aye on today's resolution.
Thank you, Senator. Is there anybody else? The question is on the resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please all rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
Next up, Madam President, is previously adopted Resolution 588 by Senator Webb. Please read that resolution's title and recognize Senator Webb.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 588 by Senator Webb, mourning the death of John J.R. Gaudette, distinguished citizen, respected firefighter, and devoted member of his community.
Senator Webb on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise with a heavy heart to honor the life, the service, and the enduring legacy of John J.R. Gaudette. He was a beloved husband, father, son, community leader, and firefighter from my district in Binghamton, New York, who tragically lost his life in the line of duty on February 12th of this year at the age of 40. For anyone that knew JR, they knew that he was more than a public servant. He was a cornerstone of our community in Binghamton. Born and raised right in my district, JR exemplified what it means to dedicate your life to others. His commitment to protecting our community was only matched by his deep love for his family, specifically his wife, Feli, and their 3 children, Charles, Vanessa, and Michael. He was a proud graduate of Binghamton High School, my alma mater, and JR went on to attend both Binghamton University and SUNY Cortland, where he played collegiate lacrosse, a sport that remained close to his heart. And for anyone that knew him, they knew that he also prided himself on being a coach, and he was very enthusiastic about his love for that sport. He later gave back as a youth coach for lacrosse, football, and basketball, and always showed up with an infectious smile, a joke, tireless energy, and unwavering positivity. Those who knew JR describe him as someone who always put others first, whether it was on the job or in his family and throughout our community. Whether it was responding to emergencies as a firefighter or mentoring young athletes on the field, JR's dedication to service and humanity touched countless lives. Madam President, JR Gadet embodied the very best of us. His spirit will live on not only through his family and friends, but also in the community that he loved and gave so much to. As we mourn his loss and his transition, let us also honor his legacy by committing ourselves to a life of service, compassion, and care for one another. To Binghamton Fire Department Captain David Holleran, who is here today, and the Binghamton Fire Department, I just want you to know that your commitment to keeping his legacy of service alive is a part of your work as public servants, and we appreciate everything that you do for our community in every way that you show up. And to his wife, Feli, and to his children and the entire Gadet family, please know that the 52nd Senate District and the entire state of New York grieves with you, and we thank you for sharing JR with us for the time that he was here. We appreciate your continued great service and support all of the great things that you do for our community. May his memory continue to be a blessing, and may we carry forward his legacy of love and service. Madam President, please extend privileges of our House to Binghamton Firefighter Department Captain Holleran, and prayers to the family of JR Gadet and all those whose lives he's touched. I vote aye and encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. To our guests, God bless you. Our condolences to you and the entire fire department and to the family of JR. I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was adopted on April 2nd. Senator Gianaris.
Please recognize Senator Hinchey for an introduction.
Senator Hinchey for an introduction.
Thank you, Madam President. Pop quiz. Who can tell me what the 4 H's are in 4-H? I bet the students in the gallery can tell us. The answer is head, heart, hands, and health. Head to clearer thinking, heart to greater loyalty, hands to larger service, and health to better living. We're excited to welcome students from across New York State to the Senate chamber today because today marks the 90th annual 4-H Capitol Days Conference. That's 90 years of 4-Hers coming to Albany to learn about state government, meet their representatives, and connect with fellow 4-Hers from different communities. If you're not familiar, 4-H is the largest youth development organization in the country, thanks to Cornell Cooperative Extension. Every year, when I go to the Ulster County Fair, the Columbia County Fair, the Greene County Youth Fair, I'm blown away by the creativity, confidence, and self-expression coming from our 4-Hers. You take the things you care about and turn them into projects that teach, advocate, and open minds. Whether it's raising animals, learning about food and farming, protecting the environment, creating art, or sharpening your public speaking skills, 4-H is about building real-world skills and giving you the space to explore and run with your curiosities about the world. The impact of that speaks for itself. 4-Hers are 4 times more likely to have a positive impact in their communities, 3 times more likely to feel confident, and twice as likely to pursue STEM and make healthy choices. Last year alone, more than 400,000 students across New York State took part in 4-H. That's incredible. So to keep asking questions, keep taking risks, keep being curious, Keep showing up for yourself, for your community, and for what drives you. It takes courage to try something new, and that can be a really vulnerable place to be. But it's also where the real growth happens. Thank you all for being here and for reminding us what service and courage look like in action. And a special shout out to 4-Hers Ella Maxwell and Zachary Maroney, who are here representing Ulster County from my district, from Highland in my hometown of Saugerties. Madam President, please welcome our guests to the chamber and offer them all the privileges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. To our guests, we welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please all rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
One more introduction from Senator Granardis, please.
Senator Granardis for an introduction.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to honor and introduce a remarkable New Yorker who was a giant in the field of public transportation and public transit because he spent 20 years serving on the board of the MTA. We discuss the MTA a lot in this chamber and in the work that we do here in Albany, and we talk about it sometimes in the abstract, we talk about it sometimes in the real life, but Norman Brown, who spent 20 years as a board member on the MTA, who just retired, lived his service to the MTA every single day. And he devoted himself to the stewardship and improvement of public transit for all New Yorkers through his service on the board. As a labor representative for the Metro North Commuter Rail, he was a champion for the workers who help power our public transit, and he was a committed voice for the importance that public transit plays to our region's economy. But that's not all, because he is also a scholar of transportation policy, and he has helped push and advocated for policy interests, policy campaigns to help further the interests of riders and help strengthen our public transit system for decades. He has a deep knowledge, not just of mass transit, but of freight rail as well, and someone whose expertise ranges from maintenance issues on the shop floor to the macroeconomics of transportation. After 20 years of service on the MTA board, without a vote, he's probably had more impact on the MTA and on public transit than many of us in this room, and even board members who have had a vote for even half that time. Norman is with us here today in the chamber with his guests, and so, Madam President, I'd ask that you'd recognize him and give him the full courtesies and privileges of the chamber.
Thank you, Senator. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Thank you for your service. Please rise and be recognized. Senator Gianaris.
Next up is previously adopted Resolution 279 by Senator Rhodes. Please have that resolution's title read and recognize Senator Rhodes.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 279 by Senator Rhodes, memorializing Governor Kathy Hochul to proclaim June 2025 as Aphasia Awareness Month in the state of New York.
Senator Rhodes on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, and I thank the leader for allowing this resolution to come to the floor to recognize June 2025 as Aphasia Awareness Month in the state of New York. Many people don't know what aphasia is, but it impacts over 2 million people a year. In fact, 40% of individuals who suffer a stroke are eventually diagnosed with some impact of aphasia. And aphasia is an impairment of language affecting the production or comprehension of speech and the ability to read or write. Now, this condition occurs when the part of the brain that's required for communication abilities is damaged due to a stroke, brain injury, or other neurological condition. Those affected by aphasia often struggle to come up with words, to say what they mean, read quickly or to their full ability, or even remember how to spell words that they used to be able to read and write. They have difficulty understanding conversations as well as following conversations, and this becomes a particular problem when they're trying to communicate with their own doctors, which leads to them not asking the appropriate questions to professionals and to signing forms without proper understanding of the situation. Raising awareness is key. And with us in the chamber, we are honored to have Matthew Weingartner. Now, Matthew was an avid college baseball player. Matt had 2 open heart surgeries in 2006 and 2017, resulting in an infection which triggered a stroke on April 18th of 2018 and a diagnosis of Broca's aphasia. Like so many people that we recognize in this chamber, Matthew, though, took a personal tragedy and turned it into an opportunity to try and do something positive for others, using it as a chance to raise awareness, becoming the national spokesperson for National Aphasia Awareness Foundation, as well as creating his own YouTube channel, A Matter of Matt, which I would encourage everyone to follow to hear about his life story and his efforts to raise awareness of aphasia. Matt also, I'm sure, would want me to mention that he is having his first annual Aphasia Awareness Resource Fair on June 25th of 2025 from 10 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon at Long Island University Library, room L123, the Zwicker Conference Center, again on June 25th, 2025. So, Madam President, I certainly rise in support of the resolution, which was previously adopted, but also I would ask that you recognize Matthew, his dad, Wayne, who has joined him as well, as I believe he's brought 2 other guests to us with the chamber. Please welcome them on behalf of the Senate, and please grant to them the privileges and courtesies of the House. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. To our guests, I welcome you on behalf of the Senate. We extend to you the privileges and courtesies of this House. Please rise and be recognized. The resolution was adopted on February 4th. Senator Gianaris.
And now on to previously adopted Resolution 962. Please have that resolution's title read and recognize Senator Clear on her resolution.
The Secretary will read.
Resolution 962 by Senator Clear, commemorating the 100th birthday of Malcolm X, an advocate for human rights and one of the most influential African-American leaders in history.
Senator Clear on the resolution.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam President. I rise to pay tribute to one of the most important Americans, New Yorkers, in the history of the world, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, known to many as Malcolm X. Today would have been his 100th birthday, and when we ponder the transformation he undertook in only 39 years on this earth, we can only wonder where we would be with 61 more years of his leadership. Malcolm X may have been born in Nebraska, but many of the most essential events of his life happened in a village that I represent, Harlem. He spent part of his transformative youth in Harlem from 1943 to 1945. He returned to Harlem in the 1950s to lead Temple No. 7 on West 116th Street, which today is known as Masjid Malcolm Shabazz. Upon his return to New York in 1965, he was assassinated. The birthday of Malcolm X is a significant annual event in my district, but I would dare say throughout other parts of New York City, New York State, and even the world. That is because Malcolm's journey and evolution has not only inspired billions of people worldwide, but so many of those people lived the very same experience, took the very same steps, fought against the very same racism and injustice, and some have even paid the ultimate price, much like Brother Malcolm did. The village of Harlem has always paid tribute to Malcolm X. In 1987, Lenox Avenue was renamed Malcolm X Boulevard. We landmarked the former Audubon Ballroom as Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Memorial and Educational Center. And 25 years ago, Malcolm X Plaza was dedicated as a gateway to Harlem. And this year, when my bill S-1204 passes, we will rename the underlying subway station at West 110th Street, the Malcolm X Plaza Station. 2025 is not only the 100th birthday of Malcolm X, but also the commencement of the 100th anniversary of the Harlem Renaissance, of which he played a great part. The two milestones will combine in a series of events this year like no other, combining celebration, teaching, community service, education, and advocacy. As we work and move forward in this 2025 legislative session, let us remember the words of Malcolm X. When one is moderate in the pursuit of justice for human beings, I say he's a sinner. And in that vein, let us be united against sin and not be moderate in our efforts, but purposeful and deliberate. May the memory of Malcolm X be with us today, and may his lessons and teachings grace us here in the chamber. Thank you, Madam President. I proudly vote aye.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Comrie under resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to support Senator Clare's resolution. I want to thank her for bringing this to the floor. Malcolm X, in the final years before his life was cut short, lived in Elmhurst, Queens, and now Senator Ramos District with his family. It's hard not to think about how different our borough would be if he had a chance to live a full life there. One of the most important aspects of Malcolm X's story, and perhaps the most applicable today, is that he managed to escape an idolatry of hatred. Growing up in Black America in the first half of the 20th century, it is not understandable. It is understandable not to blame him for being indoctrinated. When you experience any amount of mistreatment, oppression, or suffering, it is easy to be convinced that there's a distinct group at fault, a group that you can lash out with impunity. But then after going to Africa, the pilgrimage to Mecca, Malcolm X was overcome with a great sense of connection with people who are of all colors, Muslims of all colors, who had come to pray just as he had at the Kaaba. And this connection changed the way that he wrote, the way that he thought about teachings he'd received, and the way that he spoke. Malcolm X said just days before his death that he understood the world around him in a new way. After listening to revolutionaries and speaking with Muslims from around the world, he realized just how dangerous a tool racism was for the oppressed to wield against their oppressors, and that only through unity can the human race escape today's violence and suffering. This did not change the fire within him that drove him to fight, but redirected him towards the causes of human dignity and rights for all. We still see today how extremist groups prey on those who are hurt, who feel trapped in poverty and are unable to escape. But even those fully committed to those extreme beliefs, we see these groups slowly turn those people to hatred and violence. But even those who have had hatred and violence in their hearts can be fully committed and be deprogrammed. They can be redirected towards the root of the struggles that they faced and be redirected to show that they can be positive people. Malcolm X shows us the tremendous power of education and the immense importance of speaking truth to power without fear of reprisal. And it is a part of our history that we must continue to be students of if we are to prevent the same suffering and tragedy from happening again. To close with a few words from his autobiography, I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it is for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost, and I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. As we are here in this chamber, Madam Speaker, I would remind us that we are all truth tellers. We should all be truth tellers. We're all fighters for our communities to try to make this a better state, and we should be like Malcolm, consistently seeking the truth, fighting those pillars, all those bureaucracies that keep us from trying to get to the truth so that we can have a better state. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Bailey on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Claire, for introducing this resolution. Brother Malcolm would have been 100 years old today. Senator Claire mentioned it in her remarks, the age of 39. It seems to be the year when two of our greatest were taken from us, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Brother Malcolm X. Malcolm X is whether people believe it or not, he is the greatest American story, or one of the greatest American story of believing in second chances. Malcolm Little, born in Omaha, Nebraska, had a childhood full of problems, a young adulthood full of problems, including but not limited to incarceration, drugs, etc., etc. But he found something deeper. And he became somebody who, on the very floor of the New York State Senate, whose birthday we proclaim. That is one of the greatest American second chance stories. Not just black, American. Black history is American history. It's not February, but I feel the need, Madam President, to make sure we remind people of that every day. We can. One of my favorite movies, Madam President, is Do the Right Thing. It's a Spike Lee joint. I didn't realize until today when I was doing a little prep that movie came out on May 19th, 1989, Brother Malcolm's birthday. I was 7 years old and I wasn't able to watch Do the Right Thing at that time, Madam President. My parents had a little bit more sense than that. Watched it when I was 8, just kidding. But when I did get a chance to watch that movie, it's become one of my favorite movies. And it's like Brother Comrie said, we should aspire to do the right thing. Well, doing the right thing means different things to different people. Do the right thing may mean that you read the autobiography of Malcolm X with Alex Haley and you think that the job is over. It's not. Maybe you watched the movie in '92 when Denzel and you saw him deliver what should have been an Oscar-winning performance, but that's not. What I challenge us to do, all of us, even those of us who know Brother Malcolm's story, is to dig deeper into who he was. If you've never gotten a chance, The Ballad of the Bullet, March 29, 1964, in the Audubon Ballroom. When he spoke about the famous quote that you hear in the movie, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock, Plymouth Rock landed on us. It's not just a throwaway line, Madam President. When they brought black folks to this country, they didn't contemplate that we would be a part of the conversation. If you go through the story, if you go through the speech, they talk about we gave 310 years of free labor. We just want to get our back pay, so to speak. I'm paraphrasing there. I want us to think about the country and the troubled country that we have and think about how we continue to rise as a society as one. You've heard me say it on the floor of the Senate, but my favorite Malcolm X quote, well, two, by any means necessary. And the education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We have to continue to prepare for the future by doing the work that we do in this chamber. Dr. Betty Shabazz, after Malcolm X's assassination, moved to my district, to the city of Mount Vernon, where she raised her daughters in Lower Westchester County and in the city of Mount Vernon. They became pillars of the community. I challenge us again on this 100th, on the centennial. He was a big enough man that we got to use big enough things, centennial celebration of Brother Malcolm, that we do all we can to make sure that we continue to unify and uplift all people. Thank you, Madam President. I vote aye.
Thank you, Senator. The resolution was adopted on May 13th. Senator Gineris.
Madam President, the sponsors of all of today's resolutions would like to open them for co-sponsorship.
The resolutions are open for co-sponsorship. Should you choose not to be a co-sponsor, please notify the desk. Senator Gineris.
On behalf of Senator Myrie, on page 15, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 390, Senate Print 3789, and ask that will retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill will retain its place in the third reading calendar. Senator Gineris.
Let's take up the calendar now, please.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 109, Senate Print 518 by Senator Broussard, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 109, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Steck, and Warzik. Ayes 44, nays 12.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 178, Senate Print 1055 by Senator Serrano, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 178, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kenzay Fitzpatrick, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Terra, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Ralston, Steck, Tedisco, Warzik, Weapon, and White. Ayes 35, nays 21.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 244, Senate Print 700 by Senator Kruger, an act to amend the tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this action took effect on the 1st of April.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Senator Kruger to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an expansion of a law we changed a few years ago that was brought to my attention by law students representing people outside the city of New York who had lost their licenses because they couldn't afford to pay their tax debts. And without their licenses, they couldn't go to work and ever pay back their tax debt. So the state had gone part of the way then, and we're hoping to go the remainder of the way now because we don't actually collect the taxes owed to us when people can't get a job to pay their taxes. And so it seems to me, while I'm never in a rush to want to let people off the hook for not paying their taxes, this bill requires you document why you couldn't pay your taxes. And in fact, again, in the city of New York where I come from, not that many people need a driver's license to get to and from work, but in the rest of the state, they really do. So I respect my colleagues' decision to vote against the bill, but if they think about it, this is really for the people of their district. I vote yes, Madam President. Thank you.
Senator Kruger to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 244, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kenzay Fitzpatrick, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, Weber, and White. Ayes 37, nays 19.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 260, Senate Print 1892B by Senator Jackson, an act to amend the correction law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 260, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, O'Mara, Rhodes, Ralston, Warzik, and White. Ayes 47, nays 9.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 439, Senate Print 4926 by Senator Ramos, an act to amend the workers' compensation law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this action will take effect on the 30th day, it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 439, voted in the negative are Senators Lanza and Walzek, ayes 54, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 504, Senate Print 4757 by Senator Bailey, an act to amend the executive law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 1st of April.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 504, voted in the negative are Senators O'Mara, Ort, and Walzek, ayes 53, nays 3.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 507, Senate Print 5138 by Senator Giannaris, an act to amend the criminal procedure law.
The bill will be laid aside for today.
Calendar number 560, Senate Print 5149 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 663, Senate Print 1467 by Senator Serrano, an act to amend the Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on 180th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 740, Senate Print 1788 by Senator Henchy, an act to amend the real property tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 745, Senate Print 405 by Senator Myrie, an act to amend the tax law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 745, voted in the negative, Senator Walzek, ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 748, Senate Print 1211 by Senator May, an act in relation to enacting the New York Open Water Data Act.
Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect on the 180th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 763, Senate Print 6281 by Senator Scarcella Stanton, an act in the state finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 772, Senate Print 7551 by Senator Bino, an act to establish the Bottle Redemption Fraud Task Force.
Read the last section.
Section 6, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 772, voted in the negative are Senators Hellman, Lanza, Matera, Murray, O'Mara, Ort, and White. Ayes 49, nays 7.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 932, Senate Print 4200 by Senator Gurnardes, an act to amend the banking law.
Calendar 893 is high and will be laid aside for today.
Calendar number 932, Senate Print 4200 by Senator Gurnardes, an act to amend the banking law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 30th day and shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 986, Assembly number 2398 by Assemblymember Gallagher, an act to amend the judiciary law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Senator Fernandez to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill changes one word. It changes the word addict with a few more. This bill changes one word. In our general law, in our judiciary law, county law, the word addict is everywhere. We are changing that word to person with substance use disorder across multiple areas of New York State law. Because behind that one word is decades of stigma, criminalization, and policy failure. The term addict entered New York statute in 1972, just as heroin was tearing through poor and black and brown communities. A year later, the Rockefeller drug laws, and overnight, stigma entered statute. Our jails became de facto mental health institutions as people in crisis were locked away instead of treated. Being an addict was seen as a choice, as a moral failing, deserving of punishment. Those who were struggling were hidden behind bars and away from the eyes of the public. But now we know better. Substance use disorder is a chronic, relapsing health condition, and the science and lived experience tells us clearly shame does not save lives. Treatment does. Our words matter, and this bill addresses that point directly. It follows the same logic behind renaming our committee, from alcoholism and drug abuse to alcoholism and substance use disorders. It is a simple truth. Words shape culture, and culture shapes policy. We've spent decades cleaning up the damage of the war on drugs, and this bill is one more step in that process towards accuracy, compassion, and justice. I proudly vote aye.
Senator Fernandez to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Bailey to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I really want to thank Senator Fernandez on her leadership on this bill and in the committee. As she mentioned, she's literally changed the name of the committee because words do matter, right? The way that we think about people and the way that we think about words, they really do matter. And we have to be intentional in the way that we utilize our words. Born in 1982 and lived in the Bronx, New York, and when I was growing up, people used to use the words addict, junkie, crackhead, fiend, all of these things interchangeably. When they were talking about people who had significant issues, and they just weren't being helped. They were thought as people that were essentially subhuman. But when it became evident that it was in more communities than just the black and brown communities, the conversation shifted. I'm happy that we shifted the conversation. But this conversation should have happened long ago. It's very important that it's happening now. And the way that we look at people who have addictions, that have afflictions, that have concerns that they need to be ameliorated is really important. And they need to be treated with humanity and respect like everybody else, regardless of what they may or may not be facing. So Senator Fernandez, hats off to you once again. Thank you for my colleagues for voting for this bill. I proudly vote aye on this bill, and we must continue to make sure we change the way, because words do matter, Madam President. Thank you.
Senator Bailey to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator May to explain her vote.
And I also want to thank the sponsor for this bill. This is really important. When I was first elected and made the chair of the Commission on Rural Resources, one of the first things we did was hold a roundtable about substance abuse and overdose prevention in rural communities. And what came out loud and clear at that roundtable was that stigma was the #1 problem that rural people dealt with when they were trying to either recover or help a loved one. We even heard about first responders who would be called multiple times to the same address, and they would drag their feet a little bit more each time when they had to go to that same address because they carried the stigma as well. So I hope that this change can be part of really addressing what was part of an epidemic, honestly, not just of substance abuse and overdoses, but of stigma. Literally, stigma was the epidemic in a lot of rural communities, and I really hope that this can make a difference. So thank you, and I vote aye.
Senator May to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 986, voted in the negative are Senators Lanza and Walczak. Ayes 54, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1013, Senate Print 627 by Senator Stavisky, an act to amend the education law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1025, Senate Print 1336 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this action take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1026, Senate Print 4945 by Senator Comrie, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 180th day if it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1028, Senate Print 6018 by Senator Baskin, an act in relation to authorizing and directing the New York State Power Authority to rename the Robert Moses Niagara Power Plant to the Shirley J. Hamilton Niagara Power Plant.
Read the last
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Giannaris Kruger, Ort, Sewell Cousins White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1028, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Morello, Kinsey Fitzpatrick, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Robinson, Steck, Tedisco, Walzick, Weber, and White. Ayes 35, nays 21.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1037, Senate Print 550 by Senator Bridgeport, enactment of the Social Services Law.
Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Saul Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1037, voting in the negative are Senators Bino and Martinez. Ayes 54, nays 2.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1084, Senate Print 3294 by Senator Cooney, enactment of the Cannabis Law.
Read the last section.
Section 13, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Saul Cousins, White.
Senator Kruger to explain her vote.
Thank Senator Cooney for bringing this bill to the floor and hoping we get it past both houses this year. You know, when I wrote the marijuana regulation bill in 2016, we made some significant changes to medical marijuana, but in fact, there are a number of things that we failed to do, and modernization has allowed us to do more. I particularly want to highlight the importance of lowering, even though it does not completely end taxation of medical marijuana. I don't know of any other medicine in the state of New York that we actually tax. It will also streamline the process for collecting and research on medical marijuana and its values, and hopefully make it easier for patients to learn the information they need to make the right decisions with their healthcare provider about what kind of cannabis products might be in their best interest depending on what their illness is. So again, thank you very much to Senator Cooney for this very good work. I vote yes.
Senator Kruger to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1084, voted in the negative are Senators Ashby, Borrello, Kinsey Fitzpatrick, Chan, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martinez, Matera. Senator Griffo, in the affirmative. Got you. Lanza, Martinez, Matera, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, Walzick, and White. Ayes 37, nays 19.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1089, Senate Print 4969 by Senator Bailey, enactment of the Public Health Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 90th day, shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Saul Cousins, White.
Senator Bailey to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I was reminded earlier that this is the penultimate bill on the agenda. Thank you, Senator Ashby, for reminding me. Means next to last. But if you are the victim of gun violence or you're involved in gun violence, you should have more hope. You should have the ability to consult with a psychiatric specialist, to have a mental health consultation after that incident. Because if anybody's ever been involved or around when gun violence happens, it's not just the physical injury that affects the families. It is the trauma of the individual that has been shot. It is the trauma of those around them in the surrounding neighborhoods. So making sure that this is available to individuals who have been involved in this sort of gun violence I think is critically important. And it speaks to what we've done in this chamber, making sure that we recognize gun violence as part of a public health crisis. It is a public health problem. It is not just people picking up weapons. We have to get to the root causes, and some of these consultations will maybe help us get to the root causes. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for everybody for voting for this. I vote aye.
Senator Bailey to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1089, voted in the negative are Senators Borrello, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Murray, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rhodes, Steck, Tedisco, Walzick, and White. Ayes 42, nays 14.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 1096, Senate Print 2355 by Senator Parker, enactment of the Public Service Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Saul Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 1096, voted in the negative, Senator C. Ryan. Ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Please recognize Senator Lanza for a motion.
Senator Lanza.
Thank you, Senator Janaris. Madam President, on behalf of Senator Rollison, on page 43, I offer the following amendment to Calendar 866, Senate Print 6927, and ask that said bill retain its place on third reading calendar.
The amendments are received and the bill retain its place on the third reading calendar. Senator Janaris.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at
I
the
move
desk.
to adjourn until tomorrow, Tuesday, May 20th at 3 p.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, May 20th at 3 p.m.